Social Civilization Diagnostics with Jerusalem-based theologian Professor Abramelech.
Story of Jacob and Joseph and the blessings of his children is one of the most dramatic pieces of literature in the Bible. The entire story of Joseph is dramatic. It's one of the longest sections of the Bible. Jacob is about to die. He's led a glorious life in the land of Canaan. And now, under his son's tutelage and leadership in the land of Egypt. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim, and Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 shana, 17 years. Vayi yemei Yaakov, and the days of Jacob, Shnei chayav, his 2 lives, Sheva shanim ve'arba'im u'ma'at shana, 147 years. Vayikrevu yemei Yisrael, and the days of Israel, that is Jacob, were coming close to him dying. And he called his child Joseph, and he said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, come under my thigh and do with me grace, and do not bury me in Egypt. He makes Joseph swear to him in the style of oaths that the patriarchs made to their close ones. And he requested to return to the burial site of his grandfather and his father, Abraham, Isaac, in the cave of Machpelah in Hebron, so that he should be rested there. And Joseph swore that he would do like his father requested. And here forms the first critical juncture of nationhood, where the leader of a country, and number 2 of the land of Egypt, swears for a territorial concession, a burial site, and later on we see other sites given to Jacob and to his children, and an alliance occurring between Egypt and Canaan and the children of Israel. Joseph then brings his children, who Jacob does not recognize because they are dressed like Egyptians, for a blessing. And in that blessing, Jacob crosses his hands over and blesses Ephraim over Manasseh. The names are very significant. Interestingly, in the blessing over Ephraim, he says that Ephraim will assimilate into all the nations of the earth, or into many nations. And the etymology of the word Ephraim comes from the word pri, fruit. It's actually the English and the Hebrew word are similar, pri and fruit. And Ephraim would bear fruit, or many fruits, among different nations. And that is the proto-myth of Ephraim and the tribes around the world, in Europe and in England, and the myth of Christianity being the grafted seed, the grafted branch onto the root of Ephraim. After Joseph and his children come to get the blessing from Jacob, all of Jacob's other children come to him, and he brings them together, and then he gives almost like a song or a blessing or a description, a depiction of each of the personalities, the archetypical personalities of the tribes of Israel, of the children of Israel. And these show that they are not pandering to any one child or another. It is not propaganda which asserts a national identity. The prose attributed to each of the characters, the children of Israel, are not particularly complimentary. They describe their failings and their flaws and their ugly side of the nation. Even that of Joseph. So there is nothing necessarily positive, but it is a mosaic, a description which brings together the complexity of the group of people and their jealousies and their competitions, and despite that, how they form a nation. So this complexity of literature and of giving many names and describing subtle, nuanced situations of tension and of jealousy, that in itself is the imaginative, the group imagination, the ability to pass on an identity which associates with this complexity, seems to be at the source of the biblical narrative, and those that love it and respect it. Here are the blessings and the songs and the epitaphs to the children of Jacob. Hikapsu v'sham'u b'nei Yaakov. Hear, come around and hear, the children of Jacob. V'shim'u el Yisrael avichem, and listen to Israel, your father. Reuven b'chori, Reuben, my oldest. Ata kochi v'reshit oni, you are my strength and the beginning of myself. Yeter se'et v'yeter az, with great going out and great strength. Pachaz kamayim, lofty like water. El al totar, which is not resting. Ki alita mishkavei avicha, but you rose up to the sleeping of your father. Az chilalta yitzu'ei Allah, and you desecrated the coming out of his leaves. That makes reference to Reuben, the older son of Jacob, sleeping with Jacob's concubine, his second wife, the assistant to his Reuben's mother, when his mother had passed away. And it is described in the Talmud that may have been done in order to ensure that he would get the rights of the firstborn, and the concubine his children would not have those rights. And indeed, Reuven, who was the oldest of the children of Israel, because of this act against the status of his father, was removed. His status as firstborn was removed, and he did not enjoy it. And then goes the next two children, Shimon, Simon, the Levi and Levi, Achim, two brothers, Klei Chamas, angry instruments, machroteim, are their skills. Besodam al tavo nafshi, their secrets. My soul should not come in their secrets. Bikhalam al tached kvodi, my status should not come in their congregation. Kib apam, because with their rage, hargu ish, they killed people. Ubrot sonam, and in their wheel akrul shor, they destroyed bulls. This refers to the destruction that Levi and Shimon brought on the city of Shechem in revenge for the rape of Tamar, where they convinced the inhabitants of the city to circumcise themselves and join the nation of Israel, and when they were defenseless, they killed them. They too were brandished because of these actions. Arul apam, cursed is their anger. Ki oz ve'avartam, because with greatness they transgressed. Ki kashta achalkam b'Yakov, their bows I will spread throughout Yaakov. Va'afitzam b'Yisrael, and I will spread them out in Israel. That means that the Levites would be dispersed out of a form of punishment because they were too aggressive and assertive. They would not have their own areas of residence, their own land, but they would be dispersed amongst the children of Israel. Shimon and Levi. Then the fourth child, Yehuda, Judah. Ata yuducha, you should know. Yehuda seems to come from the word yad, hand. Yuducha, you should know, or with your hand, or recognize. There is an etymological similarity which is repeated here in the text. Achecha yadecha, your brother's hand. Again, a third reference to hand in the name of Judah. Be'orech oivecha, yadecha be'orech oivecha, your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. That means you will control your enemies. Yishtachavu lecha b'nei avicha, the children of your father will bow to you. That means that Judah will rule the whole of Israel. So here you see a depiction of Judah, who is the fourth child of Israel, but would take on the status of firstborn and would be the leader of Israel. This is probably one of the strongest references that this text was written when Judah was in fact the center stage of the Israelite story in the time of David or Solomon. Gur Aryeh Yehuda, a lion club is Judah. Miteref b'nei alita, and it will tear apart its prey. Karar avez ka'aryeh, it will run like a lion. Uchlavi min mi yakimenu, and like a tiger, who can have advantage over it. Lo yashul shevet mi Yehuda, there will never be taken away the tribes of Judah. U'mechokek mi bein raglav, and the legislative ability between its legs. That Judah would always be a legislative power, a legal power. Or with the hand, the yad refers to futurist legality relating to justice and God, and dalid refers to writing, diyor, ink, and hand, the actions of the hand, domesticated actions of the hand would be represented by the D. And Judah is going to be the center ad ki, until it comes to Shiloh, till he comes to Shiloh. that idea of coming to Shiloh is not clear. Shiloh was the capital of the Israelite people after they came out of Egypt and before they entered Jerusalem. And that is where the tabernacle of the Lord, the Aron, and the Mishkan, the tabernacle sat and dwelled for several decades. V'lo yikhat amim, and so Judah would have the Aron, the tabernacle, and Judah's strength would not be blunted. Many other praises of Judah, but certainly not propaganda. Then it goes on to the next child, Zevulun lechof yamim. He will be on the coast, Yishgon. There he will dwell. V'hu lechof aniot, and he will be on ships, v'yechato al Sidon, and on the shores up till Sidon, to Lebanon and Syria. They would be dwelling on ships, and this very much suggests that they were the sea people, that the sea people that worked all the way up the coast in the Adriatic and to Cyprus and Greece were somewhat incorporated into the identities of Israel. And if that is so, then the story of the Danites in the story of Troy and the conquering of Troy, who were sea people, could play very much into the relationship of Dan and Zevulun. And the next child, Yisachar Chamor Garam Rovetz Ben HaMishpatayim. Yisachar will be like a donkey, and he's going around to the different peoples. Vayar Mincha Kitov Et Haaretz Ki Na'ama, and he wandered wherever it was good. He ate, and he would serve others like a mule, like a donkey. And the next, Dan Yadinamo, Dan, he will judge his people, Echad Shifte Israel, like one of the tribes of Israel. This refers, it looks like, to the great judge of Israel, Samson, who was from the tribe of Dan. And it is also referred that Dan, whilst it was in the area of the Philistines, because it was too crowded there, or too tense, they were given an accommodation up north, near Zevulun, near the coast, and they also, is reference or potential reference that they assimilated into the sea people, because again the Dan and the Danoi are referred to in the story of Troy. The next child, Gad Gedud Yegudeno. Gad means a goat. Gedud means together. Yegudeno will be brought together. Who Yagud Ekev, and he will be a togetherness of the heel. There are 4 references, etymological references, to what the word Gad means, and it is very interesting because Gad also refers to speak, lahagid, and so the etymology of Gad is important and telling and deserves an entire session. To the next child, Naphtali, that he will be an extension, a bright extension. And then refers to Joseph, Ben Porat Yosef, the child of fruit. Joseph is described, even his name, as plenty and fruitful and surplus. The name and the period that he brought about are synonymous. Joseph means, and he will add Yosef, and it will be added. Ale Ayin Benot Sada, he describes that it is like daughters at the hunt of a bull, plenty of meat and energy and celebrations. That Joseph will disappoint all the bags of arrows that are his enemies, and that he will survive his enemies, all the owners of arrows. And he will reply to their arrows, and he will stop those who try to distort or cause disarray. Midei Avir Yaakov, and he is the descendant of the knights of Jacob. Mishamro Even Yisrael, and from there is the basis of the stone of Israel. So here he describes Joseph as being both very mighty and being able to repel threats, and being the source and the strength of Jacob. And he goes on to say that Me'el Avicha v'Yazecha, the God of your father, has helped you. Ve'ed Shaddai, and Shaddai, the ancient God of Israel or of the Canaanites. Ve'Yivarcha, will bless Berchot Shemayim, blessings of the heaven, Ma'al, of the God above, Birchat Tahom, and blessings of the void, Rovetzet Tachat Birchat Shaddai, which go under the blessings of the Birchat Shaddai Varechem, of the breast and of the womb. Birchat Avicha, the blessings of your father, Gavru, have helped. Al Birkot Horei Ad Ta'avat Gevaot Olam, have helped over the blessings of the parents of those who have desired from the tops of the hills. Tihena l'Rosh Yosef, these will be the heads of Joseph. The Kod Nazir, to the corner of the selected one of his brothers. So refers in unusual ways to Joseph being selected. And then the last child, Benjamin Ze'ev Yitrov. Benjamin will be like a wolf, and he will eat like and hunt like a wolf. Baboker, in the morning he'll eat, and in the evening he will distribute what is left over. So a form of wild creature. None of them particularly complementary. And all of these are the tribes of Israel. And Jacob collects these people before him, and he says to them, he is going to die, and he requests that they bury him in the cave with his father, the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the Hittite, in Hebron, on the fields of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought, the field from Ephron, the Hittite, to be a burial site. And that's where Jacob was buried, and Sarah, his wife, was buried, and that's where Isaac was buried, and Rebecca was buried, and that's where he buried Leah, and that's where he requested to be buried. And we'll continue in the next session.